Welcome to highlights of stage 18 of the Vuelta A Espana, an individual time trial of 12.2 kilometres in and around the city of Valladolid. The stage shortened by organisers to ensure the rider's safety in the light of continued demonstrations. All of the big TT specialists ready for action, including Pipo Ganna. Well, this is the course on offer. 12.2 Ks, completely flat. Quite a technical opening few kilometres, and then essentially a big out and back on main roads with very little technical difficulties. As you can see there, hardly any elevation gain at all. One of the big favourites at the start was Dan Uller of Lidl-Trek, the Dutch TT champion. Set very fast times out on course, although did get it wrong. He thought this was the left turn on the dog leg. In fact, he had another couple of Ks to continue. So an error there, but it didn't stop him from setting the fastest time by quite a margin in the end, the clock stopping at 13:19. Shortly after the Dutchman was Filippo Ganna of the Ineos Grenadiers, the Italian champion, double world champion, thundering round the course. Although he was slightly slower in the opening kilometres, as you can see, at 4 Ks, he was 3 seconds slower, but on the second part of the circuit, he really got into his own, thundering down, catching his minute man, and was 11 seconds quick. Ultimately, though, as he romped down the finishing straight, it was to be a ferocious time that was set 19 seconds quicker than Ulla, 56.2 kilometres an hour for the former world champion. Mads Pedersen, the man in the green jersey, suffered out on the road on stage 17, but looked to be back near his best out on course and set the fastest intermediate split. And still at intermediate 2 was the fastest out on the road, but faded on the run into the line and ended up finishing 21 seconds slower, but good enough for third at that point. Ivo Oliveira was off the ramp, a specialist at the TT, a decorated track rider too, and was moving very quickly. 4 seconds down at the first intermediate split, but it was to be a very respectable time by the former Portuguese TT champion, stopping the clock at 11 seconds shy, good enough for second at that point. Stefan Kung was also looking good, focused and ready. The former European TT champion opened up the taps very, very early on and wasn't too far down. In fact, fastest time was showing the fastest time at the first intermediate split, and then was the fastest at the second, but again faded on the run into the line and could not quite match the time set by Ganna, 12 seconds slower than the Italian. Jay Vine was to have a superb day. 2 stage wins to the good. The man in the polka dot jersey can't only climb, he can time trial with the best as well. Very quick at the intermediate split there, 6 seconds quicker than Filippo Ganna and Stefan Kung, but closing in, it was nearly going to be an upset, but less than 1 second separated Vine and Ganna. The upset didn't quite happen, and Filippo Ganna was still looking good in the hot seat. But what a time that was set by the former Australian TT champion. Another champion was on the ramp, and that was Bruno Amiral of Decathlon AG2R. Had a very solid performance. He crossed the line with a 13:10, good enough for third place, 55.5 Ks an hour. Matthew Riccatello was also on a very, very good day. The young American from the Israel Premier Tech team was looking to move up the general classification. The clock stopped for him at 36 seconds slower than Ganna, but importantly, with the time of Felix Gall, was to move him up 1 place on the general classification at the expense of the Austrian. Jai Hindley started the GC day in 4th position, was looking to try and make inroads into Tom Pidcock, eyeing that podium spot. And in the end, it was a superb time by Jai Hindley, the clock stopping at 32 seconds slower, 13:32 for the Australian. Next up, though, was Tom Pidcock. A good time set by Hindley, the Giro D'Italia winner, eyeing that third place. But what did this man have in the tank? Remember, Tom Pidcock, a former junior world TT champion, but this was to be one of the performances of his life at this level. The clock stopped for the Englishman at 29 seconds slow, but good enough to beat Jai Hindley, importantly, by 3 seconds. Gilles Almeida then, focused, ready, in the form of his life. The former Portuguese TT champion set off like a rocket and was already going quicker Down a lot of the riders out there, as you can see, very quick at the intermediate split. Not quite as quick as his teammate Jay Vine, but still looking devastatingly fast as he headed into the finishing straight. The clock was to stop for the Portuguese rider at 8 seconds shy, 55.7 k's an hour, a 13.08. Jonas Vingegaard looking to defend red. Set off very quickly. We know how well this man can go in an individual time trial. Was beaten at the Tour de France earlier this year by João Almeida. What was the result to be today? Such a slender lead, relatively speaking, after nearly 3 weeks of racing. But Vingegaard put up a performance, but it wasn't to be as quick as João Almeida. Still inside the top 10 though, 9th with a 13.18. So it's all smiles for Filippo Ganna. So still defending his lead. It has been shortened somewhat. We'll look at the GC in a moment, but what a day for Filippo Ganna. The last time we had a time trial on these streets, Ganna won 2 years ago, and he wins again today. So Filippo Ganna took the stage, 13 dead, ahead of Jay Vine, 1 second behind. Then we have Almeida, Amarai, Oliveira, Kung, O'Brien, Segart, Vingegaard, and Ul.
I think I suffered more in this last 3 hours in the Aussie comparing the bike. The first part I didn't find the correct rhythm, and then in the final I tried to push over without thinking the number, without thinking nothing. So I'm really happy for today. This last week it started really well for us, and it's not done for sure. We have another days in front, and we try to do all the best for us.
3 stage wins then for the Ineos Grenadiers, but the situation at the top of the general classification, João Almeida has narrowed the gap to Jonas Vingegaard. It's now 40 seconds. Pidcock extends his lead over Jai Hindley, who sits still in 4th place. So all to play for over the next couple of days, and another day in red for Jonas Vingegaard. But it's closely matched at the top. So let's have a look at what's on the menu for stage 19. Starting in Rueda, heading to Guigello, over 161.9 k's. A rolling day. No King of the Mountains classification, but an intermediate sprint at 103 k's and then a long drag to the line. One for the punchy sprinters, or maybe a day for the breakaway.